What really happened to Roger Climpson? Before we talk about the later years and his legacy, let's go back to where it all began. Roger Climpson was born on the 18th of October 1931 in the United Kingdom. He grew up in post-war England, where opportunities were limited, but his passion for performance and communication was evident even as a boy. Like many young dreamers, he was drawn to the arts and storytelling. But fate had bigger plans for him far from his birthplace. In his early 20s, Climpson made the bold decision to migrate to Australia, a country that was beginning to shape its own media identity. In the 1950s, television was still brand new in Australia. Very few households had TV sets, and programs were broadcast in black and white. For a young man with ambition and talent, this was the perfect time to step in. Roger Climpson joined the Australian Broadcasting Corporation (ABC) as a radio announcer, where he began honing his craft. Audiences loved his clear, warm, and confident voice. Unlike some announcers who sounded stiff or formal, Climpson had a natural ability to connect, making listeners feel as though he was speaking directly to them. By the late 1950s and early 1960s, when commercial television was taking off, Climpson made the switch to the screen. He joined Channel 7, and this move would change his life. He quickly became one of the network's leading personalities, hosting programs, reading the nightly news, and even stepping into entertainment formats. His versatility was unmatched. Whether he was presenting hard news, guiding a family program, or handling live broadcasts, Climpson brought professionalism and calmness that stood out in the chaotic early days of TV. Viewers trusted him because he represented stability. In a world of breaking headlines and changing technology, Roger Climpson became a familiar face people could rely on. He wasn't just delivering stories, he was building trust. Imagine Australian families gathering in their living rooms, waiting for the evening bulletin, and there he was, the man who would explain the world with clarity and compassion. By the mid-1960s, he was a household name. People didn't just see him as a presenter, they saw him as part of their own family. Mothers, fathers, and children across the country would say, "Turn on the TV, Roger's on." His name was synonymous with credibility. At this stage of his career, Climpson also showed courage in breaking new ground. He wasn't afraid to tackle challenging stories, and at the same time, he balanced that seriousness with warmth when he hosted lighter programs. This balance made him unique, someone who could be authoritative yet approachable. But what really happened after Roger Climpson became a household name? Behind the calm smile and professional voice, there were struggles that would test him in ways few could imagine. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, Climpson was at the peak of his career. He had firmly established himself as one of Channel 7's most recognizable faces. But life doesn't always follow a straight path. Out of nowhere, Climpson was faced with devastating health news. He was diagnosed with cancer. For a man whose life was built on public appearances and communication, this was more than just a health challenge, it was a personal and professional crisis. He quietly stepped away from the spotlight, leaving viewers wondering why their trusted newsreader and presenter had suddenly disappeared from television screens. In an era before social media, rumors circulated and fans were left with questions. Climpson underwent treatment, and those years became some of the most difficult of his life. Yet, instead of giving up, he fought bravely. His determination and resilience would soon inspire a comeback story that Australians would never forget. When Climpson returned to Channel 7 in the 1980s, audiences welcomed him back with open arms. His battle with cancer had given him a new depth, a new kind of strength. He wasn't just a broadcaster anymore, he was living proof of courage and perseverance. Viewers respected him even more because they knew what he had endured. It was during this stage of his career that he became the host of This Is Your Life, a program that celebrated the lives of remarkable Australians. The format was emotional, surprising, and deeply human, and Climpson was the perfect host. He brought sincerity, warmth, and respect to every episode. Instead of seeking the spotlight for himself, he shone it on others, honoring their journeys and making each person feel valued. Many fans believe that his own struggles gave him the empathy to connect so deeply with the stories he presented. His legacy also grew beyond television. Climpson became known for his involvement in charity work and community service. He used his fame not for vanity, but to support causes that mattered, raising awareness and funds for health organizations and social programs. So, what really happened to Roger Climpson after decades of being one of the most trusted faces in Australian television? After years of battling through highs and lows, Roger Climpson eventually decided it was time to step away from the nightly pressures of television. He retired from full-time broadcasting in the 1990s, but unlike some who fade into obscurity, Climpson's presence never truly left the public consciousness. Even in retirement, he remained active. He poured his time into charity work, helping organizations like the Christian Broadcasting Association and supporting causes close to his heart. He also continued to lend his voice and experience to special projects and community broadcasts. For fans, hearing that familiar voice again even briefly was like reconnecting with an old friend. Climpson's personal life in retirement reflected the same values he showed on screen: humility, faith, and family. He wasn't interested in chasing fame or fortune. Instead, he found purpose in giving back and staying grounded. He enjoyed a quieter lifestyle, away from the bright lights, but still carried the respect of millions who had grown up watching him. Of course, with age came new challenges. Over time, Climpson faced the realities of growing older, health struggles, less public visibility, and eventually stepping back almost completely from media. For many younger Australians, his name might not have been as familiar, but for those who had seen him during his prime, Roger Climpson remained unforgettable. And that brings us to the truth of what really happened. Unlike some TV figures who left their careers in scandal or were pushed aside by changing trends, Climpson's story is different. What really happened is that he made a graceful exit. He chose to retire on his own terms after giving decades of trust and dedication to audiences. His legacy is not in controversy, but in consistency, professionalism, and resilience. Even in his final years, Roger Climpson's name carried weight in Australia. To this day, when people think of broadcasters who shaped the golden era of television, his name is among the first to be mentioned. His story is a reminder that sometimes, what really happens isn't a fall from grace, it's a life lived with dignity and a career closed with respect. So, what really happened to Roger Climpson? He left the screens, but he never left our hearts. His journey from a young English migrant to one of the most trusted voices in Australia is more than just a career, it's a legacy. And long after the cameras stopped rolling, Roger Climpson remains a symbol of trust, courage, and connection.